Hello, and welcome back to the Nourish with Purpose podcast. It's Bailey, and I hope you're having a great Wednesday or whenever you're listening to today's episode. Today's episode, I'm going to give a little bit of a catch up, what's been going on, what's kind of changing in my life. I have actually a group on Instagram, which I've got to be honest, I'm not very active in, but I did share that I shared over there that I would be spilling some things that I am working on and doing right now. I feel like I'm in a season where there's like nothing happening, but everything is happening. And honestly, it's kind of hard to organize it all in my brain and stay on task. I've just been feeling almost a lack of drive or desire to do anything, which is always how June is. Something that I have definitely recognized is that my years honestly follow a very, very typical pattern. I feel like most people, the most encouraged, inspired, excited in January through March through like June, end of June is always a little brutal. I'm going to be honest. I just feel less inspired, which in this season of life, I had Oliver in March. So it's just kind of like a natural desire of mine to not want to do as much. And then I took about 10 weeks off, and then I started working again end of May into June. And June has been great. It's been a fine month, but I know that June is typically just a very uneventful month for me. Business-wise, personal life-wise, June is just kind of very neutral. And I think in the past and even this year, it's hard to stop myself from just being like in a state of meh, like just feeling meh. And it's just because there's not, again, a lot of activity, a lot of things happening, and I don't like that. So I know, and I should have known this about myself, is that I needed to add in some sort of education in June and into July, which is what I'm doing. I'm actually going to get HTMA certified, which is hair and mineral testing, or hair and mineral test analysis. And what that does is it shows mineral balances or imbalances through hair samples. And it's something I have really wanted to do for a long time. Last year is when I got certified in functional blood testing, which has been such an incredible addition to my business. And those are some of my favorite calls to get on, just because explaining what is happening within the body to other people based off of results that we see or patterns. It's just so fun. And it really, you put on kind of your detective hat and you look at their symptoms, their side effects, mostly symptoms, and their health concerns, maybe what they're taking supplementally and how it's actually, if it's the body's responding to that. And it's really enjoyable. But I have also wanted to add this in just as variety. Probably a fault of mine is I always want to be right, not to the fault of like I'm going to try to argue with somebody to be right, but I want to be confident in what I'm sharing with other people, especially with something that sensitive. And so I do such extensive research, and I think it would be really nice to be able to add in a pretty affordable test to run on clients in combination with doing a blood test, just to see how they compare and the results that I'm getting and that I'm reading and translating. And so that's something I'm planning to dive into now in July. And again, it's just going to open more opportunities to offer testing. It's probably more, and I shouldn't even say more affordable, because blood work comparatively is not expensive, but it can be an investment, at least a few times a year, a couple times a year. And so this is just maybe a little bit lower cost, but still provides really interesting results. And I am just a lifelong learner. I know that about myself, and I just love to be learning. And I think that summer is a good time for me because, like I said, it's just kind of meh. Like I have a lot of days where I'm excited and I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, and I'm very content just being at home with Oliver and watching him, and I'm always content doing that. It's a desire of mine to be at home with him. But other days I'm like, ugh, what is my purpose? What am I even doing? Should I completely just stop doing what I'm doing and work for somebody else and not have the stress of working and building a business and continuing to work and build a business, because it's just a journey that I've been on now for 4 years, which is crazy. And I always just come back to, I'm like, no, like I know this is what I need to be doing. I just need to probably invest into different education. And I just think that investment is so crucial for me. I know in the summer, investing in something else, something outside of myself to push my business a little bit further, or my education or my knowledge a little bit further, it's what I have to do, or I feel like I'm going crazy. So that is something I will be adding in. And I'm so intrigued by it. Blood and hair is something that I knew those were the 2 tests I wanted to get certifications in to be able to translate and run with clients. I know there are so many different ones involving the gut, yada, yada, yada. I really believe that if you're able to balance imbalances within the body or support deficiencies within the body, a lot of your symptoms or the concerns that you have regarding your health can really be solved. That's, of course, in combination with supporting the emotional health, right? The stress. And so that has just really always been a focus of mine. And yeah, I'm really excited about that. So I will be starting that, and everything else is going to look pretty much the same, but I'm starting that. I'm also rebranding my business, and it's just going to be Nourish with Bailey is what my business is going to be. My business is technically, which you might not even know this, Divine Purpose. I created that name when I was really in like a woo, I want to be more Ayurvedic, traditional Chinese medicine type of coaching. I don't know how to really explain it, but that name just kind of came from me wanting to be different and me wanting to have a name that felt very spiritual. And although I don't think there's anything wrong with that, most people do not even know that I have a business name or that I have a business, because it's just Nourish with Bailey on Instagram. And I've really come to like that. I also was very like anti having my name connected to my business, because I wanted it to be its thing on its own. And after 4 years of having that name and registering that as my LLC, which it'll still be my LLC, Divine Purpose, but Nourish with Bailey will be a branch off of that. And I just feel really good about it. I also feel like my color scheme is very like neutral, and it's not ugly, but it's not me. And so I just want to, again, in the summer, as I'm taking time or have time to learn to make some changes, I'm going to be doing that. So I'll have like a relaunch will be happening, and hopefully we'll be able to have some different offerings that come with that. And it's just something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but not actually sat down with. Was this about a year ago? I paid somebody to create a logo for me, and this is at no fault to them, because I misunderstood, I think, the direction. I didn't have a personal direction that I wanted to go with the logo, and what I got back just wasn't exactly what I was wanting. And it's unfortunate, right, when you invest in something, but I would have had to keep investing to make changes to the logo. And I just thought, we're just going to put this on pause. This is not the time or the season to be doing this. And so now I feel like, okay, I'm ready to make changes and like rebrand my business. It just feels like a breath of fresh air, truthfully. Part of that too is because, you can get outside with a newborn, of course. He's about 4 months, and we do get outside if we can in the mornings, but sometimes it just gets way too stinking hot to be outside as much as I would probably like to. So when he's napping, it's nice to have some things to work on. I'm also working on launching it's called the Well Nourished Mother Guide. It's a prenatal and pregnancy support or guide to really help you know what common deficiencies are, how you can meet them with food, how you can choose supplementation that makes sense for you and your body, how you can get emotional support during that time, because it can feel really, really isolating, especially in those first 12 weeks when most people typically aren't announcing that they're expecting. You feel like it is me, myself, and I, and this is where I feel like I'm in the trenches. At least that was my experience. I felt like I was in the trenches, and it's like you feel your worst, but you can't really talk about it, and that was so difficult for me. And so it's going to contain some of that. It's also going to touch on like where you could register, what some low tox products are to put on your registry, what are my kind of like I could not survive without these postpartum, just so you can do some of that prep before you actually enter into that season of postpartum. And so it's going to just be packed full of information and knowledge, and I'm really, really excited about it, how you can eat in a way to support your prenatal health. So even if you aren't expecting, but you want to be in the next, honestly, 3 years, that's how long I really took to support my body before having a baby. I took about 3 years to support my systems. I mentioned on last week's podcast that I had lost my period for about 6 months. I knew that wasn't normal, and I took that as my warning sign to start supporting my body better and to be eating more and to work out less and just change what support looked like for me. And so I really tried to give myself and my body time. And so it's also helpful if you're in that season of life too. So it sounds like there's a lot happening, but really my day-to-day does not look that eventful. So it's just kind of this weird moment in life. Personally, I guess it's the 4th. So happy 4th of July. Well, almost the 4th. Happy 4th of July. Tonight we are headed to my grandparents. Every single year we do like a big 4th of July get together with my grandparents on my mom's side. And it's because my grandpa just absolutely loves fireworks. He loves buying fireworks. We have Marv's fireworks stands around here. And so he will go every year and buy enough fireworks to get at least like 4 free t-shirts. And he probably goes back multiple times a week just to get more things. And so they put on a pretty good show. We do it out at my grandparents' pond. And so there's like paddle boats and canoes, and we usually do like hamburgers and s'mores. And my grandma is an amazing cook, so she makes all of the sides that you could want at a picnic, like the potato salad, the beans, everything. So it's going to be great food, of course. I always know that, but also just great time to get together with my family. I think that's something that is always hard because there's really no celebrations that you get together with family from Easter until Thanksgiving. And so this is kind of that in-between time where I can see a lot of family that I maybe don't see every month or even every couple of months and spend time together. This will be Oliver's first 4th of July. And so he has this little bomb pop outfit that we actually got from a family friend. And so we'll see if he wears that, if he's going to wear that, or he has like a blue jumper that I have, like a red bucket hat that I actually wore. It was mine when I was little. So we'll see, temperature wise, what we want to put him in. But it's just so fun to be able to dress a baby for events too. He's always, I feel like, looks put together because I love to dress him in just some fun clothes. And boy clothes have gotten a lot cuter, I feel like, than they were when I was little. So there's a lot of options. Gosh, what outside of that is happening? I don't know. I really think that is the bulk of it. A lot of business things, a lot of changes happening. Personal life, like I said, just trying to get together with family. And I'm going to touch on, in today's episode, we're talking about summer. We're talking about the season, how you can be a seasonal steward, how you can really live in a way that supports your body in that specific season. And I think this is helpful, but this is definitely not something that I live by down to a T. I do think that summer, in the schedule of summer, and I'm going to touch on that, like how you could schedule or structure your day to support your body during summer. I think that's really interesting, and it's really something I do try to kind of follow because I notice in summer, I want to go to bed a little bit later. I want to get up a little bit earlier, and just to follow specific patterns throughout the day is helpful and a helpful way to support your system. And so we're going to dive into that, but this is kind of part of a series I'm wanting to consistently do called the Seasonal Steward. So I did one for spring, and now I'm doing one for summer. So a lot of what I talk about in today's episode is going to be following traditional Chinese medicine. I do think a combination of both traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine is, I think that's healthy, right? To kind of have both sides and to see both what traditional Chinese medicine says about the heart, which is the organ of summer, and what the function of the heart is physiologically. So we're going to cover a whole slew of things, but I hope you are doing well. I hope that summer is treating you right, that you're able to get outside and get fresh air and garden. I've been talking to a lot of people that are gardening right now and planting maybe their first garden ever. And I have to tell you, my garden looks a little rough. I really don't like to use any weed control, especially with Luna, and that's our dog. I just don't want her running out on grass that has fertilizer or anything, which I know it's just a little woo of me to not be anti, but we just don't do it. We don't really spray weeds, which we should, because our yard kind of looks like a disaster unless it's been freshly mowed. But my garden is a little overgrown, but things are going well. If you remember from last year, my garden basically died when we got home from vacation due to like chemical drift that happened from spraying the fields around us. And that was a bummer. And I really didn't have any fresh produce. My produce looked really funky as well. I actually started getting tomatoes like the end of October, which by then, like it's already getting cool at night, wasn't ideal. My garden is looking good in the sense of like it's producing fruit. It doesn't look so good in the sense of like pulling weeds. And I was thinking about that today when I went out there this morning, because Oliver and I like to get out early, and if I can, like either go for a walk, or like today we walked around in the grass and got some sunlight because I'm a little congested and I'm like, my feet just need to touch some grass and I need to just sit and bask in the sun for a little bit. So I like to do that as soon as I wake up, or just get outside again when it's not super, super hot. And I was looking at my garden and I'm like, you can really tell that I haven't really put a lot of love into it. And that's fine, right? I have to have some grace with myself, but I really think that is a personality trait of mine, is I love to do a lot of things, learn a lot of things, practice a lot of things, but I don't always do everything 100%, or it doesn't always look perfect, which is also hard because I would say I'm a perfectionist with most things. But when it comes to a garden, I love the idea of a garden. I love planning a garden. I love planting a garden. I don't even mind watering a garden, but pulling weeds, making sure that the areas around the beds is maintained and cut nice and short so that the weeds aren't absolutely crazy, that is where I very, very much so fall short. So maybe next year it'll look a little bit better, but as long as I still get produce from my garden, I really don't care. And if you need a vegetable to plant that is like, you really can't kill it, I actually learned that broccoli is one if you buy the plant starts, and zucchini. You will get so much zucchini. I have 3 plants and I've gotten so much zucchini, and I really just swear you can't kill it. So if you need some things to integrate either this year or next year in your garden, those are 2 that I can speak from experience I have not killed. I can't say the same for my watermelon plants. Those are kind of tricky. We just need a lot of rain, and we live in an area where you could get some rain, but we could also get no rain for months. It's just you never know. So it's always just kind of a crapshoot. See what grows, see what doesn't. My green beans also did terrible this year, so you probably don't really care about all the details of my garden, but I'm just kind of word vomiting now, talking through the things that I'm now thinking like, oh, I should replant some green beans yet. We'll get to it. It's fine. It's not a top priority right now, but okay, let's get into the segment of how I'm nourishing my mind, body, and spirit. And I want to be very transparent that I would say how I'm nourishing my body right now is not ideal. I think I've shared this in the past, but just eating enough in this season of life, and I think in summer feels really, really, really hard, and I'm really resistant to it. And I get labs drawn on Thursday, and I'm going to actually film that so I can kind of like walk you through what it looks like if you're interested in getting labs done, what the process is like, because I think a lot of people get kind of confused of like, okay, I go where, I do what, I bring what. So that's a side note. I'm going to kind of film that so I can post that and kind of explain what the process looks like. But that's besides the point. But I know these labs will probably be a wake-up call for me. Not that I'm doing a lot of things wrong. What I do as a job requires me to live out the part, right? I can't just sit here and tell clients to do all these things, to drink enough water, eat enough protein, to get off their phone in the morning and look at the sun first. Like, I can't tell people to implement practices like that if I'm not implementing them. But I do know that nutritionally, I have something that's not right. And I don't want to get too TMI, but everything is just going through me. And this happened the year of COVID. So 2020, when I moved home, that's when I learned I was lactose intolerant. Well, I've kind of cut out dairy for the last almost a full week now, and I don't feel any better. That's what fixed it previously, and that is not what's working this time. I was doing some raw dairy, so I'm like, maybe I'm doing too much raw dairy. I've cut that out, and nothing has really helped. I should say I'm not doing dairy. I'm just removing lactose-filled dairy, so I'm doing lactose-free stuff still. But I'm just not sure what's going on. So I really want to see, is my body actually absorbing nutrients in my food? Do I have some patterns of dysfunction? Like, what is happening hormonally? Is there something happening? Is there extra stress on my liver? I know there's extra emotional stress for things that I'm not even going to get into, but it's maybe that's a factor. Y'all, I just don't know. So that is something I know is going to be kind of a wake up for me to be like, okay, Bailey, we really need to be eating more. We really need to be taking maybe a probiotic again or something to help support my gut. And so I'm always learning with others too. As much as I wish I could even diagnose what's happening within me, I'm having a really hard time identifying patterns. And I had told Nathan, I'm like, if I wasn't having blood work done on Thursday and wasn't able to look at those results, I would be making an appointment somewhere just because things are just off, and I'm not sure, and I probably will still make an appointment somewhere, just to obviously get a second opinion and make sure everything else is fine. But that's kind of what's happening. Physical health, I have to say, that is not going so hot. Spiritually, I am still implementing that Glorify app, which I was talking to a client today actually about having a mantra or getting into scripture or something that could just reassure you when you have anxiety or stress occur in your life that things are fine, that your body is safe. And so I really would like to, in kind of supporting my mind, supporting my spiritual health, find a verse or scripture to help help with reassuring myself that things are fine, even when maybe my body doesn't feel fine, or I feel like things in my personal life are not going as well as they could be, or business-wise. And so that's something I really do want to implement. That app has been really nice because it just gives you a glimpse of a verse, a quote, and then a Bible study following that with a reflection question. And like I've said before, in this season of life, it just makes the most sense for it to be something on my phone that I can do every single day that helps kind of center me and ground me, but is not physically, getting a book out and even getting my Bible out, as awful as that might sound. I just don't think the consistency is there in this season of life with that, and it should be. That's not saying I don't desire that, but having this has been a really good tool to utilize in this season of life when I'm not sure when I'm waking up in the morning, when I'm not sure when Oliver will need a nap or need fed. And I have a lot of pockets in my day to add that in, but I know I'm such a morning person that if things don't happen in the morning, it's really hard for them to happen at all. And so trying to be better about that, and of course implementing that too. All right, so let's jump into the bulk of today's episode. Again, we are talking about summer. We are talking about the season of summer. So in traditional Chinese medicine, the yang energy is really what occurs in summer. And that means expansive, hot, active, and outward is kind of the words that they pair with that. The organ systems that you are thinking of in the summer are going to be your heart, which is your yin, and your small intestine, which is your yang. In traditional Chinese medicine, they really use the yin and the yang as kind of the opposites, the ones that balance each other out, which you've probably always seen that symbol, and I'm blanking, maybe it is called the yin and yang, but the symbol of the white and then the black, with the black dot in the white section and the white dot in the black section. There's a name for that, but it's not coming to the top of my mind. And so those are the organs that you think about supporting in the summer. And if you think about it, really, in the summer, you're getting outside. It's hot. When you're hot, your heart rate probably increases. When you're sweating, your heart rate increases. Your blood pressure could increase as well when we get really, really, really hot, right? Heat exhaustion is a result of being outside in the heat for too long without hydrating, without getting in the shade, without resting. And so we really do need to support our heart. Our heart, if you look at the physiological function of the heart, it's going to circulate blood throughout your body so it can deliver oxygen and nutrients to your tissues and organs while also removing carbon dioxide and waste from your body. So you've got pulmonary circulation, so that's going to send deoxygenated blood to your lungs to pick up oxygenated blood. And then you have systemic circulation, which sends oxygen-rich blood to the rest of your body. Okay, things you don't really need to know, but if you want to get kind of like snapshot of both. And so when we think about the heart, we also think of it being the organ that also kind of like supports your spirit and brings you joy, right? If you've ever heard the phrase, follow your heart, you're following what brings you joy, what brings you maybe even comfort in a sense, what makes you feel overwhelmed with happiness or joy, right, would be the kind of the basic word for that. But when we disrupt the heart, you notice that you might have anxiety or insomnia, restlessness, or heart palpitations. And that can be a result of not supporting the heart. And so when we think about the summer as the season, we want to think, what can we do to support the heart, which we're going to talk about that. But the other organ here, like I mentioned, is the small intestine. So that's your yang. Heart is the yin, small intestine is the yang. And so what the small intestine does physiologically, again, is it separates the pure from the impure when it comes to digestion. And so if we think about, again, the type of foods that we could eat to support the small intestine, you're going to think of bitter foods. This is because bitter foods help to clear out and cool the small intestine. It's really cool how we can utilize food to actually heal different organ systems. Again, if you are super overheated and super hot, you really want to gravitate towards those cooling foods or bitter foods. Again, that's going to support both your heart and your small intestine. And so emotionally, the small intestine can give you clarity and support the decisions of your heart, right? So I kind of think of this in a way of like, your heart is what you do without thinking, right? You follow your heart, you do it without thinking. But then your small intestine is there to say, hey, maybe let's use some discernment here. Maybe let's think a little bit more about this and find some clarity before we just go all out. And so it's almost kind of protecting you in a sense too, is how I think of it, of like your small intestine is protecting your heart in the sense of like it's giving you maybe some things to think about, or it's signaling, hey, we should really think about these things, or you're feeling a lot of joy, but maybe let's find clarity within that and make a more informed or a more logical decision around that. So they balance each other out. If you notice a disruption in your small intestine, you might feel abdominal pain, really dark urine, or mental confusion. I personally have been feeling this. Like I'd mentioned, I've had some like weird gut issues and abdominal pain, and it's always just wild when you think about the design of the body and how our bodies were designed, but then how our environment can impact, or the season can impact our physical body. And if we're not leaning into supporting our body in a certain way, we really feel that. So like if you eat a lot of warm foods in the summer, you might not feel so good because your body needs cooling foods because you want to mimic kind of the opposing temperature, not mimic. You want to implement the opposing temperature of what your body's physically experiencing. So again, cooling foods and bitter foods. And for me, I know in the summer, like I just do not crave anything hot, anything warm. That sounds so repulsive to me. And if I'm making something warm, I want a cooling factor. So for example, yesterday I made Greek bowls. And so what I do is we have fresh mint and we have fresh basil and cilantro. So I really just mince up those herbs and add them into some ground beef with some spices. And then I form them into little meatballs, do them on the stovetop, and then I do a white jasmine lime rice on the side. And those two would be very hot foods, right? I'm adding herbs to kind of cool the hot foods, but at the same time, like it's just temperature wise, it's hot. So then on this side, I've been doing fresh zucchini without cooking it. It's just cold zucchini, dicing that up. Again, I have an abundance of that from my garden. And then I've been doing like a Greek tzatziki. So I use like a Greek yogurt that's lactose free. I add mint, cilantro, and some basil, smoked paprika, salt, garlic powder, and I mix that all up, and then I put that on top of everything, and it's so delicious, and it cools down the food. Again, because there's herbs like mint, that's a very cooling herb, so it just gives kind of that balance that I really need. If I had to think about eating soup in this season, I'd feel repulsed, right? Which is also why, sometimes I think about how we can support even our gut, even supporting the small intestine. In the summer, it's not going to look like having bone broth in a mug on an empty stomach, or it's not going to look like having a hot coffee after you've had breakfast. It's probably going to look like having an iced coffee, or I've really been implementing celery and apple juice. So I do 1 chunk of celery with 1 green apple, and I just juice that in my juicer, and I have that on an empty stomach every morning. And that has been really good for supporting inflammation, and it tastes good. I think it's refreshing, it's cooling. And that another example would be like doing lukewarm lemon water with some salt and lemon, versus again doing something hot like a hot tea or a hot coffee or that bone broth. So you're thinking of how you can cool your system to then, of course, reduce abdominal pain or changes in your urine color or even mental clarity. When we're really hot, I think that leads to physically, when there's a high temperature or hot temperature in the body, I think our brain can become very clouded because our body's working really, really hard to cool itself down. That thinking clearly can be difficult. We can feel kind of cloudy. Our brain and our ability to focus is just not as strong. So then the color for summer is red. And what is cool about this is if you think about the color of your heart is red. If you think about foods to support your heart, they are going to be red. And so because the heart is red, it's easy to remember the types of foods you want to gravitate towards during this season, during summer. And you want to really balance the heat of summer, or the heat that can come with your heart or your small intestine, with things that are cooling and hydrating. So watermelon is a good example. Cucumber, mint, those leafy greens, sweet corn, or different types of melons are going to be seasonal. Other things that are seasonal when it comes to fruits would be your apples, apricots, avocados, bananas, beets, bell peppers, blackberries, blueberries. Then you have your kind of yellow to red foods like cantaloupe, carrots, cherries, raspberries, peaches. Those would be good ones. Tomatoes, watermelon, like I mentioned, plums, raspberries, strawberries. Those are going to be in season now as well. So thinking about how you can add in more red foods, remembering that by your heart is red. So red foods you'd implement to support both your heart, but support the heat that happens within your body. And just physically, when you are outside, if your body gets overheated, you're going to want to add in cooling foods, which will also typically be those red foods. Emotions too that happen around this time, like I said, is joy. So that's your heart. Your heart feels joy. I think a lot in this season of life, and I've said this since Oliver was born, is I just love him so much. It feels like my heart is bursting. And I think even if we look at like seasonal depression, usually the winter is the hardest, and then you kind of come out of hibernation in spring and into summer, you might feel your peak joy. And then you notice as we get into late fall, those like depression or anxiety might become more intense. So a lot of the time, the happiest season is the summer. And I really think that obviously is because of the temperature change maybe, or it's light out longer, and so we just are able to experience more life in summer. We're able to get outside more, specifically if you live in the Midwest or somewhere where you experience all 4 seasons. Summer is the season that we just crave. I feel like that's that for sure for me, I just crave summer, and I crave being able to go swimming and doing activities that also cool my body, right? Being out in the garden and watering my plants. It's been really fun. I'll use the hose and kind of like spray it up in the air, and then it feels like it's misting on us. I say us as in me and Oliver, because he's usually out there with me. And it's just really, it feels so good. It feels refreshing. And I am just happiest in summer. I know I said in the beginning of this episode of like June is kind of a meh season for me, but I feel like for sure like July, August, and September are my months where I probably thrive the most. My birthday is also in July, so that's always something fun to look forward to. And again, like 4th of July celebration, seeing family, again, being outside, getting fresh air, seeing my garden actually put fruit on is really fun too, because you put so much effort into growing something, and then you finally start to reap the benefit of having a garden. So there's just a lot of things that bring you joy. But again, like I said, your small intestine is there for clarity. Activities that I really think are great during the summer is to move your body, right? Move your body more, get outside for those post-nourishment walks. And again, I'm not telling you that you need to do all these things. I'm saying more so as me, like I would love to be able to implement these things and be consistent with living with the season. And so moving my body more, getting outside in that early morning time frame, maybe going for a walk or even just strength training and moving my body outside. Connecting with other people. This is also a great season for doing that. Tomorrow I'm actually meeting a friend to go on a walk, and that connection is just, I always think it's the best when you're able to connect with somebody while you're moving your body. It just provides a different level of conversation. But connecting with friends, connecting with family, there's a lot of like reunions I feel like that happen in the summer. People kind of, like I said, come out of hibernation from the winter into the spring and are ready to socialize. I know we have like community days or different concerts happening around us, state fairs or county fairs. There's just a lot of activity happening and a lot of opportunities for you to connect. But that doesn't mean that connection is always easy. And this is kind of a side tangent, but I saw somebody post about it today about how like getting in community and connecting with people can feel really, really hard because they do like to be by themselves. And I feel the exact same way. Like I could really be at home all the time by myself, and I'm so happy with that. But I know that connection and community is valuable and it's necessary, and it's something I need to do, but it's something I have to push myself to do. And a big piece of that is because I put pressure on myself to not just experience joy hanging out with other people, but really feel like I have to contribute to the conversation, that I have to make them feel comfortable, to make them feel safe. And I just put so much pressure on myself that I think being in community or connecting with people can feel really hard. It's also hard when you have a job that requires you to connect with people, and I love that about what I do, but I connect with people all the time, and so it is hard to connect. And even, I just kind of say that to like reassure you, even if in this season it's ideal to connect with people and you have a lot of people wanting to connect or they're having different events or gatherings, you might feel like a little stress going into those environments or making plans. That isn't abnormal. That's something that I experience too. But I think when you leave that situation, you probably feel much better than you did going into it. I know for me, like I do get energy from being around other people, but it's the action of just getting together with other people. So it's something I could definitely be better at. And again, just implementing like walking with friends, or I'm joining a book club. So doing that on Saturdays and trying to just talk to other people outside of my job and outside of work. Another activity here would just be anything that expresses, joy and excitement and creativity. I think for a lot of people, that's being artistic, painting or drawing or even like landscaping or gardening. I feel like that is an expression of your creativity too. And then balance. So you want to find balance with it all, right? Maybe have bursts of energy followed by moments of rest. And you want to just prevent burnout and overheating of your body. So days when you're outside all day, you're go, 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 go. And then in the evening, you're hanging out with people, you might feel very, very tired. That's because your body is, it's naturally just exhausted and tired and overheated. So you want to balance it out, right? If you have, the morning where you're more busy, followed by an afternoon nap, and then hang out with people in the afternoon. And that's kind of the schedule that I wanted to leave you with, because I think a lot of this information is like, that's fine and dandy, but like, how is that going to impact my life? Or how can I actually implement living with the seasons and eating with the seasons? And so I've kind of listed out a structure that this might not work for everybody, right? My work situation is a lot different than most people, so I'm able to have a little bit more flexibility. But if you think about structuring your days, for one example, in a way that supports summer, that would look like moving your body in the morning when it's cooler. So get outside. For me, get out to the garden, water the garden, maybe pull some weeds, go for a short walk with Oliver, and maybe walk in the grass and look at the sunlight before looking at my phone, right? Sunlight before blue light. Those would be all things that I want to do to increase circulation within my body without overheating my body. So waking up with the sun is another piece here. Something for better or for worse. I'm sure there's so many opinions, but even in Oliver's room, we don't have darkening shades because I want his body. Babies are so in tune with themselves, where I don't even really try to keep him on a rigid eating schedule or sleeping schedule or napping schedule, because I know he knows his body more than I know his body. And so we've just not put any darkening shades in his room. So he typically wakes up about 6 a.m. and eats, and then he'll go back to bed. He really sleeps fine with sunlight, but same with at bedtime. He goes to bed around 9:30, 9:45, wakes up around 6, then he'll sleep a little bit in the morning. But that's just his schedule. And again, I want him and his rhythms to be in sync with the season. I prefer to live that way too. We don't have darkening blinds in our bedroom. We typically wake up with the sun. Not to say I don't go back to bed till 7 a.m. most mornings with Oliver, but we wake up with the sun, and we typically go to bed when the sun is setting in the summer. And so that's how you can kind of live with the season. So waking up with the sun, getting out when the heat is at its lowest point for the day, increasing circulation. Maybe eating a breakfast that is very cooling, right? Or planning out your snack for the day in a way that would prioritize cooling food. So, okay, with supper or even like lunch, because that's probably the hottest point in the day, we're going to add watermelon and raspberries to the meal, because that's cooling foods that are also going to support your heart, right? Because they're red. And so that would be one thing you could do. And then taking maybe a short nap during the peak heat. So 11 to 1 would be that range. So taking your nap then, even if it looks like sitting inside, getting some work done for the day, or taking a nap, working on a creative project, but do something that feels restful and rejuvenating. Another piece of this is hydrating, making sure you're drinking enough water. You could probably introduce some like ice water. I like lukewarm water, but even in the summer, I want something with ice and something that's really refreshing for me. And then, like I mentioned, sleeping and waking up with the season. So that would be then going to bed around 9 or 10. The days are typically longer in the summer, so you tend to get a lot done. I feel like I think about summer days, I'm like, they are some of the longest days, but then I have to remind myself that I waited all winter and early spring for this. And so trying to obviously make the most of your days while also prioritizing rest. And I feel like that's always kind of hard. I think I remember back in like college, when you just get off of being in school and you're like, go, I need to see everybody, I need to hang out with people every single night of the week, I need to work and make money, and it's just go. But you can't do that for 2.5 months. So you have to find moments and pockets in your day to add in rest or add in activities that make you feel well rested. And that's just kind of a reminder for myself too, because I'm definitely guilty of like, I'm going to sit at my computer and I'm going to go all day without thinking, oh, maybe in the morning I should prioritize the time from 6 to 7 and get outside, get out for a walk, and utilize when it's the least hot, so that when it's the most hot, which is honestly in Nebraska, that's more like 11 to 4 p.m., maybe implementing my work then and then using like 4 to later on in the evening to be with family or socialize or connect with people. And so I could obviously do a much better job at living with the seasons, but I think it's just always fascinating to see how eating with the seasons can mimic the organ that needs the most support in this season, which would be your heart, and how the color reflects. Also, how you can add in bitter foods or cooling foods. Bitter foods would be like some certain melons, or arugula could be bitter. I think even like parsley would be pretty bitter. Cooling would be mint, like I said. Watermelon, berries, strawberries, all very refreshing and cooling as well. So that's kind of the bulk of what I have to share with you today. I'm always learning more about traditional Chinese medicine, and I just like to share in real time what I'm learning. I'm blanking on what the book is called. I shared it on my Instagram a while back, but I would say reading in the summer, I'm not the best at. I'm definitely more of like a fall to winter reader when it comes to self-help, but I think it's I'm not remembering, but it's something about traditional Chinese medicine, and I'm always just wanting to learn more about it because I think it's fascinating how it's just it feels more heart-led, or more, not even heart-led, it's more reflection-based, right? Like they developed these I don't even know what you'd call them, these common practices based off of observation, instead of like having to have intense research and to have all of these research articles to back up all the things you're telling someone. And so that's again where that balance is nice, because I do think logic and scientific research is important, and that's important in what I do. I also like that there is some more observational information out there, and I just really feel like that comes from exploring and looking more into traditional Chinese medicine. So of course, both worlds can coexist. It's just really interesting to see both sides. But let me pray for you before you get off today's episode. So dear Lord, just thank you for today. Thank you for summer in the season to just move and connect and be with people and be creative and to get outside in your creation. I just ask that we don't take that for granted, that we really savor and enjoy every season you give us, but especially the seasons that are meant to just bring a level of joy to us. And I just ask that whoever's listening to today's episode leaves feeling encouraged and inspired to support their body, their heart, and their small intestine in this season of life, and that they just feel connected to you through doing that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so if you're interested in following along with my life outside of the podcast, you can find me at Nourish with Bailey on Instagram, soon to be at nourishwithbailey.com website, but right now it is Find Your Divine Purpose, so that is linked in the description of today's episode as well, along with my email. Reach out if you have questions or if you just want to connect. That is something I hate right now about social media, is I feel like people want content from you, but they don't actually want to connect with you. And I've just been realizing that of like how social media is. I don't know. I feel like that's just really what's happening in this season of life, of like people want to learn and they want this information from you, but they don't actually want to know you as a person. And I think I'm struggling with that relationship a lot over on social media and just showing up on Instagram, because that is not fulfilling. That's exhausting. That does not make me feel like I'm living out my purpose. It makes me feel very empty, and I think social media can feel that way. And in the past, it's felt very much like a way to connect with people, but I just feel like that's just not maybe reciprocated in this season, and that's fine. But I'm just kind of evaluating that. So yeah, but you can reach out to me on Instagram at any time. I love to just connect with people. Obviously, that is a huge piece of what I do. I have to have purpose-driven work. I have to be passionate about the work I'm doing, or I don't want to do it at all. And so a lot of that passion and that drive comes from connecting with you. So like I said, reach out if you need anything. But otherwise, I will talk to you again on next week's episode. Bye.